Horses are not made to live alone. Now, probably a lot of people are watching this video and saying, yeah, but all that I already know. Well, a lot of people don't, and this is causing a lot of horses to get into some pretty nasty situations. So understand where the behaviors come from. Some behaviors, they're just natural behaviors, especially in the young horse. Hi everyone, taking a bit of time to make a few videos and talk about how horses function. We've talked a bit about the science, talked about how the horse's brain works. We've talked about how horses learn, how to condition responses, how to avoid horses learning the wrong thing, understanding fully that horses don't know right from wrong and good from bad. So we've talked about a lot of interesting things, and one of the things we should absolutely talk about, and I've already mentioned it, is what are the horse's needs. Now, of course, there's food and water and air, all those basic needs, but probably we should talk about 3 needs, because especially here in Europe, I've got this Australian accent, but I live here in France. Especially here in Europe, one of the things that tends to get forgotten quite often is what do the horses need in order to be healthy mentally, emotionally, and physically. Now, so we'll talk about 3, and they're not really what horses want. To me, they're really what horses need. And one of the things that horses need is to be able to move. Horses need to be able to move their body. Now, when we talk about movement, I'm not necessarily talking about walk, trot, and canter. Horses move as they eat. And how far do horses move in a day when they're in their natural environment? Could be anywhere from 20 to 30 kilometers a day, depending, of course, on the resources. So horses tend to move a lot. How many kilometers does a horse move per day if we stick the horse in a stable? 250 meters a day. That's how much movement happens. Now, he'll turn his hindquarters, turn his forequarters. He'll move about 250 meters a day. Horses in the natural environment, 20 to 30 kilometers. So we are having something which is called inhibition. We're inhibiting the movement. And you will, there's something called post-inhibitory rebound, rather a lot mouthful, isn't it? Which means that when the horse comes out of the box, out of the stables, he'll sometimes blow up. Now, you've probably seen this. Horses spending too much time in a stable, in a box, as we call them here, spending too much time in the stable, and he's probably been fed what horses don't normally eat. So that would mean lots of cereal. What the horses eat, normally they're trickle feeders, and they eat reasonably poor quality fiber, quite a lot of it, and they eat for 16 to 18 hours a day. One of the things that horses don't do is they don't eat breakfast, dinner, and lunch. And as anthropomorphism grows, people tend to forget that and try to fit horses into a human situation which doesn't suit the horse at all. So in a natural environment, the horse would move 20 to 30 kilometers and he would eat 16, 18 hours a day. He wouldn't move 250 meters and he wouldn't eat breakfast, dinner, and lunch. And if we're not taking care of these things, you're already starting to drive your horse a little bonkers, especially if you're not giving him enough fiber and he's eating 3 meals of cereal a day. He's probably getting a pretty nasty acid buildup happening in his stomach, probably going to start a few ulcers happening in there. As he gets uncomfortable, starts getting stomach acid, ulcers, and other things. He's probably going to develop a stereotypic behavior, so he'll start ticking or wind-sucking, weaving or wind-sucking or any of those other sort of stereotypic behaviors. And sometimes there's stables here where people tend to think it's quite normal, you know, when the horse is when he's wind-sucking, well, we've got special collars for that over here. When he's weaving, well, we've got special solutions for that as well. And it's probably important that I mention that while we're making this video. Removing or not allowing a horse with a stereotypic behavior to express that behavior is actually more cruel than allowing him to do it. So, you know, if he's ticking, just let him tick his little heart out, and now take care of his needs. Is he getting enough movement? Is he getting enough fiber? And is he getting enough social interaction? Horses are not made to live alone. Now, probably a lot of people are watching this video and saying, yeah, but all that I already know. Well, a lot of people don't, and this is causing a lot of horses to get into some pretty nasty situations. Horses are made to live together. Now, sometimes people think, yeah, that's true, horses like to be with their friends. I'm not Disneylanding about this. I'm talking about horses need social interaction because it's part of their ethogram. It's part of the way they learn to live. I'll give you a story. If I went back to Australia and I was looking at a beach and there was no one swimming in that beach, it's a beautiful little beach and the water's all nice and blue and there's some nice little waves rolling in. But if there's no one in there, it can be stinking hot. I'm not going for a swim. If I look down on that same little beach and there's 50 odd people in there swimming around, I'll go down there and have a swim as well. Now, why would you not swim when you're all alone? I'd be frightened of getting eaten, especially if I was in the middle of nowhere in Australia. You know, if I was up in the Northern Territory and I saw a beautiful little river but no one was swimming in it, I probably wouldn't swim in it. It wouldn't be a good idea. There are crocodiles, they will eat you. So, and I don't know, maybe you don't know that area, and if you don't know the area, don't do it. But as long as you see other people, up in the Northern Territory, you go to a nice rock pool and there's people swimming around in there, that pretty much means to me there are no crocodiles, because if there were crocodiles, there'd be a lot of blood and stuff going on. So there's no crocodiles in there, so I can swim. Now, why do I tell you that story? Well, because that's how horses work. They're not hanging out with their friends. They're hanging out with other horses because it increases their chance of survival. And it's important to understand, sometimes people work a lot with the show jumping industry over here, and people get on their young 4-year-olds and they take them out on what they call the classic cycle here, and they start jumping their 4-year-olds, and they take them into the warm-up paddock for the first time, and as they're warming up, there's a horse comes galloping towards them, and their horse gets all frightened and starts trying to turn around and go with the other horse, and now they get in a big fight with their horse. Well, that's all normal. If a horse sees another horse running that way, you'd go with it. You wouldn't keep going that way. If we were walking along in, I don't know, some city and all of a sudden everyone started running this way, you'd have to be pretty stupid to keep going that way. You'd turn around and run as well. And that's what horses do. So understand where the behaviors come from. Some behaviors, they're just natural behaviors, especially in the young horse. They live together, and then when one gets scared, other horses get scared. Maybe I used to break in horses, or start them, as they say today, starting horses in groups when I lived in America. And there'd be 4 or 5 of us starting a horse. Now, if one came undone, you'd hang on a little tighter because yours is probably going to blow up too. If one goes, the other ones go. They're a herd animal. And you'll be able to fix that and get horses more and more connected, concentrated with the human as they get educated. The more the human has the horse, has different stimulus control with the horse and is able to teach the horse go, stop, turn and things, the environment will control the horse much less. The more that the human can control the horse, the less the environment will control the horse. But that's all subjects for another video. Talk about this video. So, is my horse getting enough social interaction? Is he getting to hang out with other horses? Is he getting to maybe learn different things with other horses? If they don't get to learn it, when you go out into these warm-up paddocks and things, I see horses running up the back end of other horses and things, and it all gets a bit messy, and these horses just haven't had enough herd time. They haven't learned. You don't stick your head up the back end of these horses. Sometimes they're weaned and kept isolated because they're worth a lot of money, so you wouldn't want to have them out in the herd because they might get hurt. So instead of getting physically hurt, they become mentally very injured. Mentally, emotionally, they're not well at all, but physically they're not too bad, not so bad. So you've got horses that are beautiful from the outside and pretty unhappy on the inside. Now, these 3 things are very vital to the horse, and they certainly, from a training perspective, make life much, much easier. If you've got horses that are eating fiber, that are able to move, and that are getting social interaction, training those horses is so much easier. If the horse's daily life is uncomfortable, it's going to make his training life much more difficult. If his training life is uncomfortable, he'll probably carry that into his daily life as well and probably still develop different emotional problems. But if you can have the horse that's good in his training life, and we'll talk about horse training in other videos and how you educate the animal so that things go as well as possible, but just make sure that we're taking care of not the horse's wants, but the horse's needs. Is he getting social interaction? Is he getting to move? And is he getting fiber? Is he eating enough? And it could be hay. Oh yeah, but I can't feed my horse too much, he gets fat. Well, find yourself a solution. Use lower quality hay. Some people over here, the grass is pretty rich. Some people over here like to soak the hay. It removes the dust and it removes some of the energy from the hay. There are solutions. People over here also use different types of hay nets. Now be careful with them. If they get down on the ground and the horse walks in the hay net, never a good thing. Different types of slow feeders. So not with grain and cereal, but for the hay, different types of slow feeders, so that the horse trickle feeds. He's almost in a trickle feeding situation while he's living, not necessarily in the barn and in the stable, but also while he's outside. There are lots of solutions where the horse can eat, trickle feed, eat fibre 16 to 18 hours a day. Rather than starving the horse, or rather than just giving the horse 3 meals a day, and make sure that it's food that corresponds with the horse, that it's not just feeding the horse lots and lots of energy. And if you're getting lots and lots of energy, lots and lots of box, and very little social interaction, then you shouldn't really cry when you pull the horse out of the stable and everything blows apart. You pull nice little horsey out of the stable and jump on his back and he just explodes. It would be like if I took my little daughter and I just took her and I shut her in the office and I closed the door and I gave her a big box of lollies and a bottle of Coke, and I said, now I'll come back and see you in a day or two. You know, it's going to be a wild animal we got in there, especially my daughter. So, you know, you wouldn't fill her with sugar and not allow her to move and then wonder what in the world's going on. So don't do it with the horse. Don't shut him in the box, fill him up with cereal, and then wonder why in the world he just blew apart when you jumped on his back. Basic, common sense. Then again, common sense isn't always that common. A little more to think about, and I'll be sending out another video very shortly. Talk to you then.